Right, so at this point, John will have hopefully gone through the introduction to the A2 coursework with you. And with him, you're going to be doing sort of brainstorming and research into editorials and stuff. And then for this lesson, and then the kind of filler in lessons, he'll be doing things like, just sort of basic skills really, because you are going to be using photographs, and sometimes you'll be using them in a straightforward way, and others you'll be doing, adding textures and stuff to them. So this is just a couple of things that you can practice, and so to improve your skills. So probably most of you know how to download, know how to download brushes and fonts, and same thing with textures really. So if you put in free brushes for Photoshop, CC, not brushes, free textures. Okay, and then they'll give you like an option, which ones to go for. This one's quite good, brush easy. Trying to go for kind of quite nice textures and stuff, and I think, you'd want some horrible, overpowering things. You want something quite subtle, and maybe you can start off with like cracked textures or parchment textures, or those sorts of things. They usually work quite well. So, things like this, peeling paint, or they're always quite straightforward to use. You don't want like loads of bubbles and balloons and overpowering ones. These are the ones that I downloaded, and once you find the ones you want, then you basically just download them, and then you can use them. Okay, so I've already downloaded those two. So if I go into Photoshop, so the first thing is that we want you to use your own photographs, because sometimes it is, graphics, you can use secondary images, but you'll always get more marks for using your own. And you are going to be needing to use your own kind of location or environment photographs, so you might as well get practicing with that. I think for this one, this task, it's probably easier to do like architecture photographs. So again, really consider when you go out, consider composition, angles, and negative space. So I'm going to just take an image that I used, an old one from the Barbican. Just go into my drive. Okay, so open that one. So this one was an original colour image. What I've done is changed some of it to black and white, and some of it left the sky in this kind of quite a subtle blue. But I think if I were you, I would either put my image into black and white, or I would just desaturate it. So the easiest way to edit your image, colour image, is to go to, let me see, filter. I'm just wondering if I've got it on this computer. Yes, filter, next collection, Viveza 2. And then I think a lot of you know this already, by moving the brightness and the contrast, the saturation, obviously you can desaturate it down to black and white. But I think it's quite nice to have it sort of part way black and white and part way colour. And so by using these ones, you're going to affect all of the image. So if you're going to brighten it, you're going to brighten all of the image up. Okay. Now, if you just want to do part of it, like I say, just this bit here, click on your control point, click on the area that you're interested in, and then you can make it bigger or smaller. And then that's brightness, that's contrast, that's saturation, and that's your structure. And there's others as well down here, but we tend not to use them. These are the main four. And then this time the brightness will only affect just that kind of area. It won't make any difference to the rest of the image. It's just sort of within that circle. The structure is always good because you can make things a lot sharper or a lot softer. And then when you're happy with your image, when you OK it, it'll open up in Photoshop. And then, I don't know, I suggest you could crop it into a square, because you might use squares or square images in your editorial. So, I mean, I quite like working with a kind of square format anyway, so I've decided to do that. So let me just... and those textures that you use, so I downloaded 2 cracked textures. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to, I'm going to file and place it. But what I did beforehand was I saved this 15 by 15 with a resolution of 300, and then I used one of my cracked textures and I did the same. I cropped it into a square and I saved that 15 by 15 centimeters and a resolution of 300. So they're both exactly the same. And then file and place, it'll be place embedded on your computer. And place that on. And then when you go to this sort of menu here, which says normal, most of them aren't very nice, I have to say. The best one to use is overlay, I think. And also, I quite like it's okay. It's this linear dodge add. Quite like the effect of that. The rest of them, I have to say, pretty grim. So, I mean, that's horrible, and so is that. You see, they're really, really not nice. I mean, that's very subtle, so that might be okay. You can see overlay is by far the nicest one. I mean, it's okay. I mean, obviously, if you're looking for a particular kind of style, I think that's just slightly nicer. And then that's it. The rest of them are a bit like yucky, really. So I'll just go through them so you can see for yourself that most of them definitely don't work. So let's go back to overlay. Okay, and that would be it. And then you would just flatten it and then save it. So what you can do is try a mixture of different textures that you download and different photographs, and also you've got your opacity as well, haven't you? So if you did it all the way there, it disappears completely. So you can sort of bring it back to different strengths. Okay. So that's the first thing you can try. So let me just close this. Something else I've tried is using like a gradient map. just to give it that kind of slightly more sort of grainy, you know, like newspaper kind of feel. It works quite well. Just open. When, you know, you've got a lot of black space and you decide to put kind of this image in the corner, and you know, it's just not as kind of smooth as the colour photograph. It's got a bit of grain to it, and it looks slightly a bit more, I don't know, kind of this hard edge, low quality kind of newspapery sort of image. So just close that one down. So if we open up that image again, and then you go to layer and adjustment layer, gradient map. Okay, there. And then you'll have this kind of gradient over here. Okay. And I mean, there's lots of them. And again, like most of them are horrible. So don't use any of them. The black and white is like the main one. That's not too bad if you like kind of orange and blue. It's a bit too orangey. The blues, you know, have a bit more blue, but let's try the black and white one. And click on that kind of gradient. You see, so let's go back to that. But I'm going to go for the black and white. And yeah, so it's just a matter of moving these little arrows, really, or not arrows, but they're kind of tags. And then you see it starts to look a bit more like a sort of old, you know, lower quality newspaper feel, which does work quite well, I think, on some of the editorials. So what I would do is, if you're getting it to a point you think, oh yeah, I really like that, all of that, but I've lost all the detail in here, and you sort of keep trying to manipulate these, and you think, oh, I'm not getting anywhere with it. All I would do is, if you get the most of it how we want it, and okay, and then you can take your flattened image into Nix and into Bezier, and then you can add your control point. You can bring it back a bit. Obviously you're going to have that, you know, this sort of low quality grain feel. So that's what you're going to bring back in the image, because that's what the whole image is like now. So you're not going to bring this back in a perfect kind of, you know, photo realistic way. You're going to bring all the textures that we're missing back in the kind of same style as that. So that's fine. You don't have to worry that it's going to come back in a different way. Okay. And then again, so if we image size, just double check. Okay, so I've lost a bit. Okay. And then go File and New, and the height is 15. 20, that's tends to look, I said earlier, really nice. You know, when you've got this kind of sort of jet black background, and then you've got a really strong angle and composition, and the kind of the look of it is pretty sort of old and a bit grainy. Okay, so that will work quite well if you want to try out sort of different some of your different images. But as I said, it's not going to work if it's like, you know, if there's it's an everyday sort of image and there's no negative space. You need negative space, and you need these really strong kind of angles for this to work really well. Okay. Just close that. And that's it really. So just kind of a few, you know, a couple of really simple things to try out, just to you know, change your images from being totally photographic to something that's slightly more graphic based. And also, you could, do you remember when you downloaded the watercolor brushes? That might be a good technique again to try on your photographs, just to give you, you know, a different look and a different idea to experiment with. Okay, and that's the end of this tutorial.